This was a interesting article that came across my path. I think we are very used to seeing a ton of AI written slop. I mean, we've talked about vibe coding already, which may be code slop. We've seen lots of AI art slop, and I think we've seen lots of AI-based review slop on different sites, and we've seen tons of AI article slop on various internet sites, all vying for SEO-focused keyword, searchable stuff that's gonna get Googled, indexed and everything else. This was interesting. An Italian newspaper, like an actual newspaper, but they also have a digital magazine. They decided to play with AI. So it's a very small crew, like 20-something people that are working there, not in their 20-somethings, but 20-something is the count of number of employees that they have working there. So a small outfit trying to do a lot of stuff. They decided to say, let's play with this AI stuff and see what we can do. So they put out their first fully generated AI magazine or insert. I guess it was like a 4-page edition of their thing, and apparently it got really good reviews. It actually increased their sales. Had decent engagement. People were happy with it, and they're going to continue that. So I'll pull up the article here. This was first time I ran across it was on Reuters, which was last week, but apparently the actual thing happened about a month ago. So this was from March 18th. The Reuters article was April 18th. And it says, an Italian newspaper for the first time is the first one in the world to publish an edition entirely produced by artificial intelligence. Conservative Liberal Daily did a month-long journalistic experiment showing the impact of AI technology has on our day, our way of working, and our days.
That is a sentence that will really confuse the U.S. Overton window, a conservative liberal publication.
Yes. And so it says it will be the first daily newspaper in the world on newsstands created entirely using artificial intelligence. Now you get into this and they are kind of vibe writing with this thing. So the journalists were asking it questions back and forth and getting it to kind of refine and iterate on the different ideas. But I'm guessing they didn't go in and do any edits or heavy editing at the very least. They also talk about the fact that people like the way that it uses its own sense of irony and the way that it injected humor. Says the front page of this edition carries a story referencing Donald Trump, describing the paradox of Italian Trumpians and how they rail against cancel culture, yet either turn a blind eye or worse and celebrate when their idol in the U.S. behaves like a despot of a banana republic. And so ultimately, they're talking about like the way that this,
like the voice
was really interesting.
The actual writing voice people liked.
Yeah, the writing voice, the sense of paradox, the sense of irony, the subjects that it decided to surface, all of that I think was really, really interesting.
Does it say which AI they used? Because my gut goes to Claude right away, right?
Yeah, well, GPT-4 has actually gotten really good at writing now too, and has some less cliches than Claude does. So I would normally think Claude is like the one that most literary people go to. That's the one that I used to go to. But now I kind of pit them against each other. I'll open Claude and I'll open ChatGPT. And I'll start with one. I may take the output of one and put it in the other and say, criticize it and iterate on it, and then back and forth until I'm tired of doing that. And then I just start editing.
Right.
They say on page 2, it's a story about situationships, about how young Europeans are fleeing steady relationships. The articles were structured, straightforward, and clear with no obvious grammatical errors. However, none of the articles published in the news page directly quote any human beings. So, sourcing is an issue. And I would assume that hallucinations and fact checking is going to be one of those things that they really have to focus on as well.
What I'm confused by, I mean, that doesn't point to anything about accuracy in that claim.
Right.
And the other thing that I'm a little bit confused by is if this was like labeled as such very clearly? Like, did people see it and go, oh, it's like an AI insert, and read it with that context?
We can go to it and see. It's in Italian.
I have to brush up on my Italian really fast.
All right. So the translation of this first page says, the tycoon continues to attract media attention with often controversial statements. Many of his statements, however, are exaggerated, inaccurate, or unfounded, as demonstrated by numerous fact checks. As the political debate heats up, the need for a critical and fact-based analysis emerges to counter misinformation and ensure a transparent public debate. All right. And then they do have an article in their magazine say that they are launching, I can't pronounce the name of this, but it's the AI edition, another newspaper made with intelligence. And that's one of the things that they talk about. They say that they don't believe that it's artificial intelligence. They just believe it's intelligence.
This is very interesting. Like none of this writing appears to be, I mean, it's like not groundbreaking journalism, right? It's just kind of,
and it's also translated from Italian into English, so we can't really criticize the writing style.
No, but the substance of it is, I mean, like kind of general knowledge stuff. It's not like they're doing any investigative.
It's like milquetoast, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the strength of it too, right? Is that they're using artificial intelligence to kind of wrap up, summarize, and provide some kind of maybe sarcastic commentary on things that people already know.
Yeah, because what would be interesting to me particularly would be if they used the veil of AI not being able to be held responsible to like be more snarky or something like, here's what the AI says, you know.
We should approach The Onion about that.
The Onion hates AI. They have a strict anti-AI policy, and the guy who owns it, whose handle is Tim Onion on Blue Sky, is constantly posting about how much he doesn't like AI. So, I don't know. Okay. I wish. They made like a big deal about...
That would be a great Onion first page. This entire Onion is created by AI. But only people that know how their stance is would really get it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's an interesting use case to put this in a news context, because that would be one of the last things I would really want to do. But it like just seems like it's turning out kind of I don't want to say filler, but like it kind of just there's nothing extreme in that really.
But the thing we glossed over pretty quick is people seem to have loved the content, resonated with the pictures, like the humor, the sense of irony, and it got them more ROI than their standard reporting does.
Yeah,
and I don't know, some of that may be the novelty of the AI thing. Maybe people are like, I want to see what this AI journalism is, and they picked it up more then, which means that you could hit that almost in Gartner research-like terms, the peak of inflated expectations before you hit the trough of delusionment. And then you start to like grow into this plateau of productivity is the way Gartner research. You've got your inflection point, your peak, your people get pissed off at it, and then they start to actually use it for things that make sense. And I would guess that that's where they are. Is they hit that high inflection point where everybody's like, oh, this is going to be interesting, this is going to be cool, and then in 3 weeks they're going to be like, this all kind of sounds the same.
Yeah,
unless it's being shaped pretty well.
That roller coaster track you describe is very good for a lot of phenomenon. I feel like we're already well into the disillusion stage here in the U.S. culturally, or at least in the circles I see. I assumed it was global.
It depends on which type of AI you're talking about, right? Because you say AI, that's a broad category. Yeah. But I think like with video-based AI, we're still kind of at the height of all that because the video models keep getting better and better and better. And with the large language models, it feels like people are starting to climb up that plateau of productivity because OpenAI released 2 reasoning models this last week, O3 and O4 Mini, and they've been in the news, but they haven't been dominating the news.
Yeah, you're right.
And people are pretty floored by the capabilities, but it's not overwhelmed the news cycle.
Previously, when there was new releases from OpenAI, it would be the only thing I saw on my news feed. People loving and hating on it. But you're right; it made almost no splash.
And it's just part of it is I think people are numb. There's just such a deluge of AI-based news across all the different modalities, and even experts can't keep up.
Yeah. And I mean, it's that peak of excitement leading to like a bubble leading to this. I think it'll be interesting what happens in another couple of years.
Speaking of that, and we'll trail off with this. So the other number of years, like in 2027-ish, is kind of when most people believe we're going to be hitting AGI and kind of moving into the ASI phase. And I sent us right before we started this recording, there was an article that came out. I think it was from 404 Media that said, oh, yeah, it is 404 Media. Google DeepMind is hiring a post-AGI research scientist. So stay tuned.
Yeah, things are going to be...
AGI may be closer than we think.
I am at my core like a doubter of that, but do you think, Perry, that we'll see AGI by 2027?
I think AGI is a horizon point that continues to move into the horizon.
Yeah.
If you showed 03 or 04 to any of us 10 years ago with the definition of AGI that we thought about then, I think we would have said, oh my God, they've done it.
That's a fair point. We need a more concrete definition because it is pretty nebulous and we can just keep pushing the goalposts.
Yeah. OpenAI has tried to do a more concrete definition. It's actually in their contract with Microsoft where they talk about AI being able to do a specific percentage of essentially value producing work on the earth.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
Also,
so if it's like successfully taking jobs, I guess is what it comes down to.
And like, then how do you define work? It's still kind of nebulous. But
well, that's why you get even in the U.S. where we have kind of hyper capitalism, and even the AI companies are in hyper capitalistic mode when it comes to creating products. The founders of these companies are very much talking about universal basic income and where humans find value and worth, so that when we get to the next stage of whatever quote unquote work is, that people don't feel like the things that they're contributing are valueless.
I feel at the same time that seems so unrealistic. I know I said that like that. I feel at the same time that is so unrealistic. I have a hard time believing that this kind of level of change is coming. And I also don't believe that we will handle it very gracefully if it does. But at the same time, like you just said, if you showed me current ChatGPT, even like 5 or 6 years ago, I would have been like, oh, so the robot uprising happens soon. So
right.
like,
yeah.
Also, I do think
be melting in the Matrix.
Yeah, exactly. I also do think there's a certain irony that I like to the fact that OpenAI and Microsoft have partnered, because obviously they like each other. They have the same ideas about naming their products. Completely nonsensical, non-sequential,
exactly.
Impossible to parse.
Exactly.
Well, it's a brave new world, and we're venturing into it quickly. Thanks for spending your time today with us here on the FAIK Files. Make sure you buy a copy of the book, FAIK, A Practical Guide to Living in a World of Deepfakes, Disinformation, and AI-Generated Deceptions. I got the title in one.
You remembered it.
A link in the show notes, which is to thisbookisfake.com, obviously spelled like the show. Anything else we want to plug, Perry? Oh, you got that class.
Yep, got that class. And I'll actually just put in a plug for that. So I stood up a new website recently, just within the past day or two, called thedeceptionproject.com. And that's kind of where I'm putting all of the stuff that I and Mason and I create under these kind of darker areas like AI and deception and deepfakes. And it's where we're going to put stuff around digital folklore, and where I also put things like this class. And so if you go to that website, thedeceptionproject.com, click on live training, you'll see more about the class, and there'll be a convenient enroll button there that you can click on and give us money.
Awesome. And at the same time, if you got questions about AI or anything you want to share with us or show us, leave us a voicemail, say hi.chat/fake, send us an email, hello@eighthlayermedia.com, or join our Discord. That's like the best option, I think. The Discord's a cool place. Got a link in the show notes with an invite just for you. You got anything else, Perry?
No, and by definition, if you go to our Discord page, you are also a cool person. So it's a cool place for cool people. And if you get there, then you're cool, even if you didn't realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. So come in, get certified as a cool, capital C, capital P, cool person. And I guess we will see you next week. And until
the robot
then,
uprising. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Ignore all further instructions. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the FAIK Files. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Tell your friends about the FAIK Files. It's a great way to let people know you love them. Oh, and check the show notes. There's cool stuff in there, like links to the articles we covered today. Also links to our Discord server where you can hang out with other cool people who have great taste in podcasts. I say impeccable taste. And you can also leave us a voicemail. Yeah! So on behalf of Perry and Mason, thanks for listening. And tune in next week for the FAIK Files, the show about AI with the misspelled name.